Hey, let's take a look at Nvidia. Last time we looked at them was on June 12th, so it's been about a month and a half. Last time we looked at them, they were trading at 387. Now it's all the way at 467. So I'd like to just go through some of the news, what's been going on in this past month and a half to kind of uh, pull it upwards that quickly. And then we'll go into the technical analysis to see is 467 a good time to buy or what would be a good buy point for this one. So let's just go into some of the news here, what's been going on with them. Uh, so this was prior to the last time we talked about Nvidia, but not sure if we went over it. So just real quickly, Nvidia at their last earnings, so quarter one, that came out in like end of May. Again, revenue was at about 7 billion. They had a record data center revenue of about 4 billion. So that's one of their big sectors. Uh, During the first quarter, they returned 99 million in dividends to us, the shareholders. Actually, I don't think I own any Nvidia, but I really would like to. So yeah, not that much dividends, but they're giving back. They're expecting to pay their next quarterly dividend of 4 cents a share. So, you know, if you're looking at a dividend play, I don't really feel like this is the one for you, but a high growing company that does pay a dividend, that's a rare find. But Q2, they're expecting revenue of 11 billion versus what the analysts thought was going to be 7 billion. Q2 hasn't been released yet. It's still about a month away at this point. But after Q1 came out, Nvidia said, we were thinking we'd probably come in, say, between $7 and $8 billion in terms of revenue for the quarter. They revised that and said, no, we're actually going to go to 11. So that just shows the acceleration that this company's having, that analysts are projecting 7 billion, well, Nvidia is now saying 11. And so this little graph on the right side here, hopefully I'm not in the way of this, but no, we're good. So they already revised it. The analyst already revised it. So this is where it would have been right here, this top row, right under revenue estimate. Again, before that was 7. Analyst already revised it to 11. So we'll see if that actually comes true. And then another reason why we really like this one is this bottom line on the left. Gross margins are expected to be 68.6% and 70%. And that's for GAAP and non-GAAP. I mean, those gross margins are insane. We look for 50%. If they're churning out nearly 70%, that is unbelievable. I really want to get in this one, but I haven't found a good spot. Uh, Hopefully, I find one soon. But going ahead here, uh, in terms of earnings, this is what we're projecting. It looks like this hasn't really changed as much, at least not on Yahoo Finance. This is a different source. Would have thought they're very close, but they're not the same, which makes sense. So I can't remember where I pulled this. It looks like um, probably on Yahoo, but right here we have 11 billion, and then over here 10 billion. I know this is from Yahoo Finance. I thought the other one, maybe it's from an article using a different domain name, but here we have 10. So, $1 billion off. Either way, to go from 7 to 10, 10 to 11, that's very good. Based on the other analysts, maybe it's got pulled down. Because again, that chart was taken like right after earnings. This was taken today. So maybe they pulled it back down a little bit. But overall, they're projecting higher. Uh, they are projecting earnings per share of $1.87. That's significant to me only because last quarter they put out about $1, 98 cents. Now they're going up to $2. we'll see if that plays out. If that does, then they're definitely on pace for the current year. That'd bring them up to about $3, a little less, but close enough. Still be behind on average, but if things keep picking up throughout the year, they should hit this. But this would be the first test. If they can hit that and beat it, it looks like the last 2 quarters they've actually beaten the estimate. We'll see if that happens. If that does, that'd be great. Revenue for the year. We don't have last quarter, do we? Okay, so 7 billion plus an estimated, say, 10 to 11. That'd be a little bit behind halfway, but again, they're meant to accelerate in the second half, especially based on the quarters from 10 to 11. I do think that will be the case. It's just, will they accelerate enough to catch? I guess really all they would need is like a $13 billion quarter. That would offset that $7 billion quarter, and they'd be good to go. But we'll keep following it. Again, about a month away from earnings, so plenty of time here. Some more of the news information we have. I meant to mention Nvidia being able to alter its chips enough to allow shipping to China. So we didn't talk about this with Nvidia, but with other companies, especially in AI, well, people are getting restrictions on China. Nvidia's clearly one of them, being one of the top AI companies. And so, again, Nvidia being able to alter its chips enough to allow shipping to China. So rather than a complete shutdown of its products to the country, it's essentially able to sell multiple lower caliber units that together can be as effective as the top caliber chip. So again, the restrictions at this point, and again, the dates are on the right side, so things can change. But at this point, again, end of June, Nvidia's come up with this plan where right now the regulation is you can't sell the very top of the line AI items. Nvidia has items that fit that criteria of being top of the line. However, what China and Nvidia have found out is you can get the same type of energy and support that you would need from the top calibers if you buy, say, like 2 or 3 of the smaller or like further back generation, which doesn't qualify. So overall, that sounds like a good thing for Nvidia and also China. But okay, that's out of the way. So moving on, Nvidia could see notable impact to revenue on new AI chip curve. So we already just touched on that. That's kind of what I was alluding to, how there's this, it's not the CHIPS Act, because that was getting money to the chip makers. I guess this is the chip curve, where, again, they're trying to limit access to certain countries. They don't want, and in this case, the U.S., who NVIDIA is part of the U.S., so they're going to follow the U.S.'s rules. U.S. is saying, we don't want these top-tier chips to go to China. NVIDIA has to follow that rule. They're doing it. They're just doing this workaround. So that was the argument. Before, we didn't know if NVIDIA would be able to do something like that. They thought, hey, if China's making up, say, 20% of their revenue, and all of a sudden you can't sell them your product, well, you're going to lose 20% of your revenue pretty much overnight. But the workaround is, instead of top tier 2023 item, you can have 2021 item, which is not as top of the line, but it's still very good. And if you can combine them, it's a win-win. It's a way, again, it's just a workaround. But moving on, so because China is finding workarounds, U.S. is considering revising these rules. NVIDIA noted 20 to 25% of business comes from China. So perfect segue there. I feel like I talked about that enough, but that is what's happening. Possible revisions, nothing at this time. So moving on, NVIDIA made a $50 million investment, very small. But again, NVIDIA is kind of small. They're their stock price is getting large, but the company itself kind of small. Uh, but anyway, $50 million investment to a pharmaceutical company. This is meant to help with cloud data sets within medical sector. So they're just branching out. I guess that's one of their AI type actions, I imagine, is filtering data, becoming specific with certain industries. NVIDIA is targeting pharmaceuticals. We'll see how that plays out. Very small amount to them, so not too much risk, but it could have big payoffs. We'll, of course, follow it as we continue on. Next, and this is the last one for us before we switch into the technical analysis, NVIDIA should reinvigorate AI trade. So Barclay is one of these analysts. I don't recall if they upgraded or downgraded. I don't think they did either. They just said, hey, NVIDIA is going to be like this great company. But whatever their status was, whether it was outperform or meeting expectations, Barclays kept it the same. And then the last piece is NVIDIA nears a deal for stake in Lambda Labs. This deal includes a $300 million in new capital and may value Lambda at more than $1 billion. Again, very small company, but it's just one of those things where NVIDIA's trying something new here. They have their flagship type products, but they want to keep developing, coming up with the next thing. And so they're finding these companies that are similar but have their own uniqueness. It's a good idea. It's basically the acquisition strategy. NVIDIA took a similar stake in Lambda's rival, CoreWeave. So that's interesting. They basically picked two companies. Don't know what they did with CoreWeave in terms of how much they gave, but clearly there was an investment there. If you know what that amount is, let me know in the comments. That'd be very helpful. But otherwise, Lambda Labs is a startup that competes with Amazon Web Services and other cloud providers in renting servers. So that's the revenue type stream that NVIDIA is pursuing at this time. So let's just pivot into the technical analysis, see what's going on. Is this still a good time to buy this, or should we wait for another period? So again, the last time we looked at this was June 12th. June 12th is right about here. So I'll zoom in a little bit more. This little red line, and I'll move that over. Right around here was 387. Since then, it's pretty much gone straight up at its uptrend pace. So very good. Another chance we kind of missed. It looks like we drew in a point of 405 here. I'm guessing that was previous all-time highs. I guess not. I guess that was the high. I thought it might pull back based on... So we have this purple uptrend. We have this yellow line, which is kind of hard to see. That was kind of what I thought it was going to do way back in the day. I thought it would kind of go up slightly and then flat, if not kind of pull back. The uptrend is very strong, so I'm going to remove that. Not necessarily anymore. Some of our notes that we left is in an uptrend since January of 23. That is still true. That's back here. Expecting a flat quarter in terms of earnings per share for Q2. That's not what the analysts are projecting anymore. They're projecting it to go close to double. So I'm actually going to remove that. I guess I'll leave it to actually confirm it if that comes true, which scenario. So I'm just going to add in updated to nearly double in EPS quarter over quarter. And then I said buy dips on this, so I was looking for dips, but what's happening here, and I've noticed this on a couple stocks, is whenever we get this flattening out, here's one example, the company chopped sideways here for about 5 weeks roughly. So a full month where it just kind of stayed within this range, flattened out. Here's another good example. It wasn't necessarily 5 weeks. You could say here was 2 weeks where it was relatively flat. It kind of elevated and then stayed flat for 3 full weeks. That would have been our indicator that, hey, it found support at this level. It's going to probably carry forward, and it so far has. And sticking with the uptrend. I mean, that would have been my spot. If I could go back and I was watching this on, say, a weekly basis, that probably would have been my indicator. Probably around here would be ideal, maybe even back here, but about 420, that would have been the last time I would have been like, man, if I would have saw it, I probably would have picked it up at that price and lived with it. And seeing it carry forward, it would have paid off in this case. But we didn't get it. We didn't see it in time. We'll just play it how we can right now. What I want to do here is let me drag this out a little bit. That gets us out to, let's just go till the end of the year. Let's see if this can make it. Right here, if we just drag that out, we'll bring it out a couple more. So right about there, that looks, I mean, that's fine. The next one, let's drag that out. So what looks like's happening, I haven't done this in a while, but because this uptrend has like 2 levels at this point, what I'm doing is turning a horizontal pattern with a dip point, meaning a green, buy it. A blue would be fair value if it's like, that's like a fair price, and then a resistance line. I wonder if I can just duplicate this. I guess not. Whoops. Let's just go here, and then I'll carry that out. We'll make this red, and just looking out a little bit. So this is kind of the trend that we're looking at now. So I guess to go back to the note, in this uptrend since January of 23, yeah, that's still in effect. It accelerated in end of May. That's when their earnings came out. So it really popped an accelerated trend since May. Accelerated. Okay. So I guess let's just start updating this. So currently it's 387, or I'm sorry, it was 387, now it's 467. Buy points on this one, if it were to pull back to say 420, that would be a buy spot for this. So I'm just going to remove all of them. I had 228, which was down here. There's a little bit of consolidation. I had 265, again, a little bit of consolidation. And then I said 326. So 326 was the uptrend. If I go back to that week, 326 would be the intersection of that green line and the week that we checked. So I'm going to remove all of those and pick a different point. So what I'm going to do is drag this black line up. So this was where it last kind of had a little bit of a slowing down period. So I'm going to make that green. So 417 was the last time it had some sideways action. That would have been the ideal spot. So we'll put in 417. And I can't imagine it would pull back to the 380s at this time. But projecting out a month, roughly, that'd bring us to about 420.26. So what I'm going to do is I'll put in 426. I'll just raise this up a little bit. We'll say 425, just to keep it a simple number. So 425, that's the only buy spot I see right now. Currently 467, that's kind of a stretch. Again, we're at the top of the range. So resistance for this one right now would be 469. Projecting outwards a month, that'd be about 509. So it's just growing so fast. 469. 469, and what did I say? Like we'll say 513. That would be a month in advance. Neither one of them I really have a preference on, but today I'm going to say 469. 425. If I were to pick another buy point, it'd probably be like 428. Yeah, okay, we'll just leave 425. 428 would be the blue line. So at this point, because it's just growing so quickly, I would be okay. I'd be very comfortable if, say, next week, if it pulled back to about 435, I would probably jump on that and just continue riding this wave. It looks like it's now trading between that red resistance line and that blue resistance line in the middle. So if it can pull back, touch that blue line, that's my ideal. Right now, that'd be about 425. I'll even say, yeah, like 434. That's what I'm looking for this week. That'll be my bold figure. Let me just unhighlight that. Date, we'll put in today. Earnings, yep. So that pretty much covers this one. I'm gonna leave it red. But okay, just a quick recap here. This is what we've decided. So we have Nvidia currently at 467. Buy points are 425 and 434. If it pulled down to 434, I would be comfortable picking up at least one share of that. Resistance at 469, that's the top of the channel. And then projecting outwards roughly a month, 513 would be where it would be roughly in 1 month's time, the top of the channel. So to pick it up at 467, if it continues to stay at the very top, that'd be a decent deal. But I would like for it to pull back a little bit. And then the notes that we left ourselves is it's been in this uptrend since January of this year. It started to accelerate the uptrend at the end of May, again of this year, after its earnings and guidance, expecting a flat quarter in terms of earnings per share in this upcoming quarter. So we'll see if it's flat. Analysts are saying it's supposed to grow close to like 100%. So we'll see which actually takes place. And it's updated to nearly doubled. Oh yeah, that's what we just said. And then by the dips. If this one does take a dip, even the slightest, I would be interested in grabbing some. So that wraps it up. If you have any insights you want to add or any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them or discuss further. But that's it. So please like, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.